Go. Now we are in Noach,
Yes.
and we're about to start chapter 7, which is great. It's an interesting thing because it takes a long time to go through this first book of the Chumash. But if you think about it, there's only 50 chapters, and we're in 7.
Mm-hmm.
So like a month or two, and we'll be a fifth of the way through the book. Pretty good.
Yeah, we're chipping away at it. Yeah.
I don't know what date we started though. But I'm going to start us off on this verse, and then I'm going to hand back over to you. V'ani, hineni, and behold I, mevi et hamabul. Now the root here is bo, that's to come, but this
Yes,
is
to come. Yep.
absolutely, and this yard here is part of a hifil, and a hifil changes it from the simple active to the hifil, the causative, the active causative. And so rather than to come, it's to cause something to come, which is to say to bring. So I'm bringing et hamabul, the flood. And then it even clarifies. If you didn't know what a mabul was, it says mayim al haaretz, literally water on the ground. Right? So if you didn't know what the technical definition of a mabul is, it's water on the earth. The shachet kal basar, to destroy or corrupt or ruin kal basar, all flesh. And it specifies, because whenever we get an asher, which means that or which, it means we're about to get more information about the thing. So this is kal basar, all flesh, asher, that, bo ruach chayim. Now, the first one, bo, was bet aleph, that means to come. But this isn't the same word. This is a prefix and a suffix. What does the prefix bet mean?
So, inner with.
Beautiful.
And then the vav is what would be and is all I know.
Only as a prefix.
Oh, but this would be male, right?
Yeah, this is the male possessive.
Inner with him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, inner with him.
So it's all flesh that has in it, or in him, ruach chayim. What's ruach?
The breath of life, yeah.
Absolutely. All right. So everything that has the breath of life, all flesh that has the breath of life in it, will be destroyed of the earth. And then it says, it gives us another clarify, mitachat hashamayim. Now, personal question, where's your tuchus?
Yeah, so that's underneath you, right?
Absolutely. And what about me as a prefix?
Me is what or from? So
from, absolutely.
From underneath you.
From underneath Hashemayim.
Underneath the earth, yep.
Absolutely. Underneath the heaven. Shemayim is heaven.
Oh, yeah.
And then it says, and this is a really important word, Kal asher ba'aretz, all that is in the earth, or in the land, or on the land, yigva. Now, you can see here, you've got a big definition for gava, and it's simply to die. But the reason this is a really important word is not because of what it means. Of course, a big flood comes and it destroys all the life on earth. It's all going to die. Makes sense. But it's the usage, because we normally use a different word for death or to die. We normally use the chess word, mate, right? Checkmate. The king is the Shah of Iran has died. Shachmate. This is where chess comes from. So normally you use mot or mate for death, but this is yigva, which still means the same thing. Means to die, means to expire, die, perish, give up the ghost, yield up the ghost, be dead, or etc. But this particular one is reserved. I'm going to pop it in the search function here. So we have Sepharia, and I'm searching the word yigva in the whole of the Jewish canon. But we're only going to look at the Tanakh. And in the whole of the Tanakh, which is the whole of the Hebrew Bible, the whole of the, as the Christians call it, the Old Testament, but as far as we're concerned, the only Testament, it happens 8 times, which you think about is pretty sparing. So let's pop it in chronological order and look at these instances. The first time is where we are. Chapter 6, verse 17. V'ani hineni mevi et hamabul, I'm bringing the flood, mayim al haaretz, water on the earth, l'shachet kol basar, to destroy all flesh, asher bo ruach chayim, that has in it the wind of life, mitachat hashemayim, from under the heaven, kol asher ba'aretz, all that is in the earth, yigva. But the second one is in the same story. You see, it's only one chapter later in 7:21, so it's going to be referring to the same stuff. V'yigva kol basar, and all flesh died, right? But then we jump to 25. And 25 is in the story of Abraham. And if we go here, it says, V'yigva v'yamet, and he breathed his last, according to Sepharia. It's actually not about breath. He died, Abraham. Beseva, in a satisfaction, tova, in a good satisfaction. Zakain, old. Vesavei, that's an old age. Savei is satisfaction. V'yasef el amav, and he was gathered to his people, or he was added to his people. Right. Mm-hmm. And then the next time is in 25:17, very, very shortly afterwards. And it says, Ve'ele shenei chayei Yishmael, and these are the years of the life of Yishmael. Ma'at shana, 100 years, ushloshim shana, and 30 years. V'sheva shanim, and 7 years, so 137. V'yigva, and he died. V'yamat, and he died the other word. V'yasef elamav, and he was gathered to his people, or he was added to his people. Same language. So far it's only been applied to Abraham, Ishmael, and the entire world, right? And then it comes up again in 35:29 of the first book. 35:29, V'yigva Yitzchak v'yamet, and Isaac died. V'yosef elamav, and he was gathered to his people. Zakain, old. V'sava, and satisfied yamim, satisfaction of days. V'yikbaru, and he was gathered, or he was buried, he was covered over, kabar, oto, Esav, Yaakov. So his sons, Esav and Yaakov, buried him. Well, we're starting to see a pattern, no? There have been other people who have died. There have even been other important people who have died. And then we go to Genesis 49:33. Now, there are only 50 chapters in Genesis, so we're right at the end of this first book. And it says, V'yakal Yaakov, and he finished Letzavot, to command et benav, his sons. V'yosov raglav, and he gathered his feet. Before it was his gathered to his people. This is his gathering his feet. El hamita, to his bed. V'yikva, and he died. V'yasef elamav, and he was gathered to his people. So in the first book of the Chumash, we get these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 incidents. 2 of the incidents were describing the death of the entire world. And then we have Abraham, Ishmael, Isaac, and Jacob. And these are almost being treated as if they are equivalents. That losing Abraham is like losing the whole world. And it might surprise you, it may have surprised you, that Ishmael was included in that number.
Didn't surprise me at all.
Right.
Not at all.
We should hold him in high esteem.
Well, and when you read other books, he did teshuvah, right?
Right.
That's what's important, is he did teshuvah. Yeah.
This is sometimes where I take a risky approach to the commentaries. I sometimes haggle and argue with the commentaries, and I want to let you in on a secret. It's not because I disagree with them. It's that I think people have got too cocky. They're very. I think
they on the commentaries more than they do the original text.
That's the problem. Because the thing about it is the commenters who wrote these commentaries, these great sages, were incredibly familiar with the Torah, right? They took all of the meaning of the Torah and said, maybe one should consider this extra piece of information. But people are skipping past the Torah, going to the commentary, And they're bandying about what the commentators said without the foundation of the Torah, and that's an incredibly dangerous thing to do.
And this is what the Maharal said, right? He said that people were learning Gemara way too quick,
Yeah,
right? That
yeah,
that if they did, that if they shouldn't touch the Mishnah until they knew until it, and it wasn't only the Torah, it was the Tanakh. They needed
yeah,
to know the Tanakh inside and out, or they would not know the Mishnah. Then you
yes,
learn the once you
absolutely,
learn the Mishnah and you know it inside out, then you touch the Talmud. And only when you know the Talmud inside and out is when you touch the Kabbalah, right?
absolutely, absolutely. This is the thing: is that people talk about how, oh, we used to say you shouldn't touch the Kabbalah until you're 40, right? But what they forget to remember is that those who were learning it at 40 started learning Torah at 3. They had 37 years of learning Torah before they got to the Kabbalah. Now you can learn Kabbalah, right? Now, I'm 39, but I didn't start learning Torah when I was 3. You know, it's not like I get in next year. And I think once you do have that foundation that we've been talking about, that the Chochamim have, then you can say complicated things, because it's with the understanding that I'm not really talking against Ishmael. I'm not really talking about Asaph. I'm talking knowing everything that we know. He should have been more like this, or he could have improved his character like this. But for someone who's, who doesn't have that knowledge, to speak ill of patriarchs and the brothers of patriarchs, I think there's a danger to it. That's all I'm saying. So please don't ever think that I'm speaking as if I know more than Rashi. I would never do such a thing. But I'm trying to challenge people to make sure they're on solid ground before they parrot Rashi. So just before we leave, I want to point out it's also in Job twice, and then it's not in the rest of the Tanakh at all. That's how important it is. Now, of course, Job was a very special character. We're not surprised necessarily to see it in Job, but no one else made it. When Moses died, it did not use that word. Now, how important is Moses to everything that we are, right?
Oh yeah, in my opinion, I would say he's probably the second most important person ever, right? Under Abraham.
Right.
Because Abraham was a friend with God, right? So to me, in my mind, that puts you way up there. But yeah, I mean, he's just, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But in here, they're talking about the impact, particularly of the death when these at great old ages, when they move on, we really lost something from the world. But the strange thing is that God commissions the death of Moses, and it's such a heartbreaking thing for striking this rock twice. How could it be that he, after everything he did that was good, this one act, this one perhaps mistake, cost him everything? But it could be argued, actually, it's not about that. Because sometimes God does stuff which looks to the layman like a punishment. But actually, if you think about it, if Moses didn't die when he died, he would have led the Jewish people into Israel. And so one of the comments, one of the theories is that had he have done that, then when he had died, then they would have been faced with something terrifying. They never had done anything. All of their greatest achievements they'd done with Moses. Now Moses died, how are we going to live? How are we going to run a country? Whereas by saying, no, come in under Joshua, then they know that they can achieve these great, tremendous acts. And it's not the person, it's not the human man that's important. It's as long as we have someone who has the Ruach Elohim resting on his shoulders, then we'll be fine. So, that's my little rant over. I will return you to the important topic at hand.
And there were two goyim in there, right? So you got Eov, and you have
Ishmael.
Ishmael. Yeah, you got two in there.
Can you call Ishmael a goy?
Well, he would be a Gentile, absolutely, because he's not of Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, right? So that's all I meant was
But he is of Abraham, no?
Yeah, absolutely. But we learned that there's lots of different people from Abraham.
Yes, you're right. Absolutely, he had many children. But if Yitzhak is a Jew, then why isn't Ishmael a Jew?
So the answer to that question would be why are some people born to a Jewish father that's not a Jew, but their mother is a Jew?
But interesting. So, for example, you're saying that Hagar was an Egyptian.
He could have been, yeah, absolutely, yeah.
So, I would also say there's also something in the promise to Ishmael, because Isaac was promised to be the father of many, right? And absolutely, and he ended up only having 2 children, one of who ends up being the father of 12 tribes. But did you know that Ishmael was also promised 12 tribes? So what's the main difference between what was promised to Isaac and what was promised to Ishmael? Ishmael was promised to great abundance, as was Ishmael. Isaac was promised the land. Now, the modern day Ishmaelites, the Arabs, they have a great deal of land. You just look at that map of what constitutes the Arab world and what constitutes the Jewish world, and there's a huge difference. We have a tiny little speck compared to what they have, you know. So it's not that they weren't spared the blessing of land. They were given the blessing of land indirectly, right? But they weren't given that land because they weren't given that purpose. So there's a moment when Jacob has been in Paddan Aram with his uncle Lavan, and he meets up with his brother. He thinks his brother's going to kill him, but they manage to make peace. And then his brother says, walk with me a little while. I'm going over here, you come with me. And Jacob makes his excuses, and he makes a few excuses. No, I can't go that fast. You know, you're walking very quickly, and I have these camels are giving birth, and my children are young, and this and that. I'm washing my hair. I've got other plans. He's got all these different reasons, and eventually he just doesn't go with him. And he says, I'll meet you there. And he doesn't go. And the question is, after they've just made peace, why doesn't he want to sojourn with Asaph? But remember, Asaph hasn't been commissioned. He could have been commissioned to be the head of the people, but he wasn't. And he's still the older brother. So the fear is, Jacob has purpose with God. Jacob has what to do that God has said to do. If he goes with Asaph, Asaph is going to overshadow him, and he's going to influence him, and he's going to bring him away from his task. Whereas Jacob has to be on his own. He has to be apart from this. Also, the same case with Ishmael. Ishmael has to leave. Sarah makes sure of it. And it's not just out of meanness. She can see that her son needs to have room to expand, right? So the who are now the Israelites, they need Israel. They don't need much. They just need this one little strip of land to be holy in. They can't be living under the thumb of the Ishmaelites any longer. They had a couple of thousand years of it, and it didn't go well, and often it was pogroms, and often it was abuse, and some of them were forced to convert. It can't be like that anymore, because the good time is coming. Very important time is coming. So we can't be under anyone's boot any longer. Could you read me the first 2 lines, please, sir?
So where are we at?
We are in chapter 6, verse 18.
Okay, chapter 6, verse 18. So,
but just for the moment, read me the Hebrew. Don't have to translate it for a second.
No, I'm reading it because it's hard for me to read it off of a screen. So
yeah, of course, absolutely. I mean, the other thing is, if it helps, I can zoom in if that's easier.
Yeah, but Vahik Moisi.
Yeah, Hakimoti, absolutely, or Hakimosi. Sorry, actually, that's the pronunciation. Good.
Yeah. S. Barois. So we Barisi.
Perfect, very good. Yeah, it's a good one to remember that when the dot is over, it makes an O sound, and when it's under, it's like a small plane lost in fog. Right, that's beautiful.
Itach.
Yes.
Ibuta.
Uvasa, if you're doing Ashkenazi, Uvasa, because we don't have a dagesh in this one, so we say the va instead of the ba, and then the sa instead of the ta. Beautiful. Okay, so if the Boy Scout song Kumbaya was Hebrew, then it would mean rise with God. So kum means to rise, but kim is a slightly more intense version, and you see how this has a hey from the hifil to cause, and this all combines together to say to establish.
Right.
So we have to start with
And then and it's in the past, right? The vav with the patach.
You're right. It's not because of the patak, because the patak is
Oh,
only a tense flipper. Well, sorry, that's my mistake. I miscolored it. The patak is only a tense flipper when it's on a future tense flip to the past.
oh,
But
okay.
so this one is past tense because of the T. Because when you put the letters at the
Okay.
end, sorry, you're right, but for the wrong reasons.
Okay.
You did
Very
everything
good.
right, but yeah. So when you put the letters that say who did it at the end, that's a past tense. So, and it's unflipped. So, vakimoti et briti. What's a brit?
So that would be like a covenant, right?
Yes. And if it's briti with a yod possessive, whose covenant is it?
Um, so I would say that it's God's covenant, maybe.
Yeah, God is speaking and he's saying my covenant. So when you
Okay,
have a
cool.
possessive yod at the end, it means mine first person. Beautiful. So I
Yeah.
have established my covenant itach. Itach. Any ideas about this one already?
Um,
This looks very similar to the passive pronoun, but it's a little different. If it was otach, that would be you passive. But
okay.
itach is with you.
Okay.
Right? So if you wanted to say, this is actually, weirdly, this is feminine. Sometimes God speaks to someone in the feminine because the instructive is feminine, polite, right? But also, in any situation, God's the man in the scenario, right? So, I have established my covenant, itach, with you. What's next?
Talk with you. Um, El Taibo.
Oh, sorry, you forgot this word here. Very,
So Ivuto.
uvata, yeah?
Yeah.
Or if Ashkenazi pronunciation would be uvasa. And that's the root here. Oh, excuse me, I always do that. The bet aleph, what does that mean? That's the word bow.
Yeah, so come, right?
Yes, and the ta at the end is short for ata, so ata vata would be you come.
You come. Yeah. So El
Yeah?
Hataiva, which
Yes.
Hataiva is like
Same as the
um
one in Moses' story,
yeah,
Moshe Rabbeinu.
Hataiva.
This is like a box. Means like
Yeah,
a...
yeah, 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 like an ark. Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
Hataiva.
absolutely. And then we get a list. So as I've established my covenant with you, and you will come to the ark, to the box,
Mm-hmm.
Ata uvanecha ve'ishtecha unshe vanecha itach. So that's actually 1, 2, 3, 4 sets
Your,
of
of your
yes. The ata means
Ata
who's
you.
ata? Yes,
It could be
beautiful.
you, yeah.
So I've established my covenant with you, and you're going to come to the teva. You uvanecha.
Uvanecha would be
Your
you,
ben.
I
Your
would
ben.
say I would say your sons, right?
Yes, absolutely. Ve'ishtecha.
The Ishtacha would be and your woman, your
Yes,
wife, right?
absolutely. Unshe vanecha.
Shay Vanecha.
So there's a funny thing with nashim is that you
So
have go on.
I would say and your wife and your son's wives because we have Ben and then we kind
Absolutely.
of got it. We kind of got a Isha sort of right. So yeah,
Yeah, exactly. So nashim is the plural. It's strangely, it's got a masculine or neutral plural, but it's because it comes from a different word. It comes from anashim, and anashim is mortals. And then making the word nashim, we've just chopped off the aleph for some reason. It's some sort of quirk of linguistic history, but nashim comes from anashim. But this is ending with a yod and a tseire. Whenever you end with a yod and a tseire, it means of. So Neshe means the wives of Vanecha. So you've got v'necha up here, your sons,
Your
u'shem
sons,
v'necha,
yep.
and the wives of your sons, and then we get itach, which we had up here. Itach. What does itach mean?
And itach would be
So before God said, "I've established my brit itach."
yeah, my covenant like with you. I guess.
Perfect. And now he's saying, "You and your sons and your wife and the wives of your sons itach."
With you. Yeah.
Perfect. Absolutely perfect. So they're already with him. We had a similar thing when the woman, the reason I'm calling her the woman is because in this part of the story, she'd not yet been given her name. So whenever we're talking about an event where she's given her name, I say Chava. And if we're talking about an event before she's been given a name, I say the woman. But when the woman was deciding whether or not to eat the fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil, at the end, when she decided she's going to eat it, she took it from the tree and she eats it, and she gives it also to her husband who was with her. And this is the same thing. So God's having a conversation with Noach, and he says, "You and your sons and your wife and the wives of your sons with you." So they're with him, presumably while he's having this conversation. So if they're witness to this event, they're also very special, right? Okay, could you read us the top line?
So
This one is Mikol. Just because when they got the dot over, it's an O. When it's underneath the hook, it's an U. So a dot up here is O, and a dot under here is U. Okay.
Umichal.
Yes.
Huchai.
Achai, absolutely.
Mikol. Butsar.
Yes. So Mikal Hachai or Mikal Basar is and from Hachai?
The life?
Yes. Mikal Basar. You can't eat basar and chalav together. Yes, very good, very good. So from all the life and from all the flesh, what's this number here? Can you read us in Hebrew first?
So Shinaim?
Yes. Do you know what number that is? You may know from the children's songs you sang about this story when you were a kid. I'll give you a clue, it's not the first number.
Second number, maybe.
That's right. So from all the life and all the flesh, 2. Mikal, 2 from all.
Okay.
Now, actually, that's the first of 2 numbers we're going to be given. Some of the animals are going to come in 2 by 2. Do you know what the other animals are going to come in by?
Yeah. By pairs, yeah. And it's because
the first not all of them are 2 though.
Yeah.
Some of them are by 2.
Yeah, all the clean animals there's going to be more of.
Yeah, they're going to come by 7s.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Great point. That's the thing. That's the distinction. Is the general animals get 2 by 2. But the ones we really, really need, especially get started in a new world, we really need the ones that are going to get eaten. We need more options. And also, what's the first thing that Noach does is actually really important. When Noach is going to come out of this ark, go on, what's he going to do?
Gives a sacrifice.
Absolutely. And we
Yeah.
see this becoming a trend. When we get to the time of Abraham, we also see every time he arrives somewhere new, he brings a sacrifice. Every time he's survived a journey, he brings a sacrifice. And this is why we have a special blessing, we say, over the Torah when you come back after a long journey. And you should, give a little bit of tzedakah with this as well. Okay, so from all the life and from all the flesh, 2 from all, tavi el hateva. Now notice again, the root of this is bet aleph. What does bo mean?
Come, right?
Beautiful.
So, yeah.
And the yod, this purple yod, tells us what?
It's causative, like it makes someone to come, right?
Yes, that's right. It's a hifil, which is causative. It's not about coming, it's about causing to come. So in this case, it means to bring. So from all the life and all the flesh, 2 from all. And because the taf, So the yod means he or it will do. The taf means she or you will do. And in this case, God is talking to Noach and telling him, you will bring El HaTeva.
Mm-hmm.
What's
and
El
the teva is the ark, right? The box.
Absolutely. To the ark, to the box. Fantastic. L'hachayot itach.
So I would say that would mean to the life. To the life?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or to live. Yes, absolutely. Itach. Now you remember that he established his covenant, itach?
With you.
Yes, yeah. Absolutely. So to live with you. And then it tells us, Zakar unkeva you. Now, we had a discussion a week or two back about the wonderful, the fantastic, the magical, the great sage of our modern day, Rabbi David Foreman. And one of the videos that he has on his Aleph Beta talks about the connections between the story of Genesis, where everything is created, and the story of Noach, where everything is destroyed. And he uses certain moments in reverse. And here is one of them. This is Zakar and Keva. Do you remember what Zakar and Keva mean?
No, I don't.
Zakar is male. And Keva is female. And Yehi means it will be. But when we take a verb and we put an U on the end of that verb, what does that do? Has an effect on who's doing the verb.
Yeah. I want to say it's his, like male.
That's good thinking. If the dot was over the vav, it would be his. But with the dot underneath making an U sound, this pluralizes whoever's doing it.
Hey, that was my next guess, was going to make it plural. Yeah,
sorry, I should have let you guess again. So the yod would be he or it. The U makes it them. And the verb yehi means will be, so they will be. Zakar and keva, they will be. Male and female, they will be. For obvious reasons. That's just a practical need of restarting a society. But notice that we're going in reverse. In the story of Genesis, God took the prototypical person and divided them out into male and female. In this process, where we're going in the destructive direction, God's taking the male and female and putting them back together into the ark. So where they were separated, now they're putting back into one, seemingly one object, because they're being sent to the ark. It says me ha'of leminehu.
So that would be and from the flying, I guess, the flying things.
Yeah. Wonderful. And this word mine is like we say the blessing on spices, we say mine basamim, or we say the blessing on grains, mine mizonot. These are various kinds. So me ha'of means from the flying thing, leminehu, to his kind. Or min ha'bahema.
So that would be like cows and things like that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The great big lumbering mammals, fantastic. Or min ha'bahema lemina, to her kind, for some reason. Well, certainly the word has a hay on the end, so the word itself is a feminine noun, even though of course we need male and female. Mikol remes al ha'adama leminehu.
So that would be crawling things, yeah.
Yeah. And because it says leminehu, it means to his kind, because who means he, and he means she, and hen means them, and hen means them when they're all female. I have an entirely female class on a Tuesday, and we were talking about how all these lovely things like prayer, tefillah, is female, but remes, apparently the crawly things are male, and all the lovely things are female, and all the gross things and the disobedient things are male. And one of my students says, what do you do when you have an all-male class with this discussion? I said, no, we can take it. I say all the gross things are male, and all the male students go, yeah, sounds right. Because we had this discussion about how we need more mitzvahs. The reason that men have more mitzvahs in Judaism than women do is because mitzvahs have a purpose. Mitzvahs elevate the soul. and we need more elevating. And if anyone ever objects to that, I say, just look at the prison system. There is a lot more men in there for violent crimes than there are women. It's not that women are like. There's a great quote from a comedian. I can't place it. I think it was Louis C.K. He said, "I'm not saying that women are better than men, but I am saying men are definitely worse than women." So there you go. Remes al ha'adama. So from all the crawly things on the ground, leminahu, to his kind, shnayim mikol. What does it mean? Shnayim mikol.
So Shnayim, I'm just going to be a number.
Yeah. It's the unclean number. The unclean.
Yeah. So two from all.
Fantastic. Exactly right.
All.
And then it says Yavohu Alecha. Now this isn't the Hifil.
Yeah, and then
this is the regular Pa'al, the simple active.
And come, right?
Yeah. And because you have a ya at the beginning and an u at the end, the combination means
Yes, them, right?
yes, they will come Alecha.
Yeah.
And it says for a reason, it gives us a reason there. They will come Alecha lecha chayot. To do what?
To live.
To live. They're going to come to you for the purpose of living. Makes sense? Now it's interesting because in the previous verse it says tavi, you will bring. But in this verse it says yavawu, they will come. So it's not saying he's going to schlep all the way up to the North Pole to get the polar bears or schlep all the way down to the South Pole to get the penguins, right? Actually, the penguins and the polar bears would probably be fine because they're pretty good swimmers. That's the nature of being on a rapidly diminishing block of ice. But these things, however fine our categories go, they will come to you. Now, by the way, one or two things are happening. Either something absolutely miraculous is happening, or something simple is happening. Because people always go, you can't get all of the species, of the Earth into a boat. Well, either you can because you're using non-Euclidean physics, because God can do stuff like that. Because you're talking about the creator of the universe, spoke light into existence. Do you think he can't get too many animals in a boat? I mean, we've seen how many clowns you can get in a little car. I gotta get more animals in a boat. Those are just clowns doing it. The other thing that's happening is, what has it actually described is going on the boat?
Oh, this is kind of what I think. I thought this is a child, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
But like maybe birds are going there and laying eggs, right?
Maybe.
Flying off and leaving the eggs.
Yeah,
right?
maybe.
Or maybe they're baby ones, and so they're smaller.
Yeah.
But also, like you said, as I've gotten older, I learned that there's a lot of flaws in Newtonian physics, right? And we're finding flaws more and more and more and more and more in this Newtonian physics. It's just crazy.
Yeah,
so,
it works on one level, but when you go to the extremes, it starts breaking down a little bit. It starts getting
breaking down. So now we're finding that through quantum physics that what's real is the way we perceive it. Right. And so the Abishter doesn't live within time and space.
The Abishter is not bound by these laws. He made the laws. He's not caught by them. Absolutely.
And time and space is only our perception. It doesn't really exist.
There's another level. My atheist friend once came to me and said, "Have you read the Epic of Gilgamesh?" And I said, I skimmed it, but I didn't read it in the original Akkadian. Right, and he said, "Well, the joke's on you," because he always thinks he loves fighting with me about this stuff, and I love fighting with him about this stuff. He said, "Did you know that the story of Noach is in the Epic of Gilgamesh?"
I would hope it would be.
That's the point. You see it immediately. I said, "No, John."
So does China.
Yeah. I said, "John, what's your point?" He said, "So you didn't make it up." I said, "We never said we made it up. We said it happened." So the fact that you have it in ancient societies still telling the same story, that's on my side, not on your side. He went, "Oh," he was really disappointed. I said, "But not only that, but the Epic of Gilgamesh comes from Ur the Chastim. Guess where Avram Avinu comes from? He's carrying this story with him down the generations. So their story is talking about vaguely, to sum it up in too few words, is about a farming man surviving a great flood. And one of the things he does is he takes all of these cages with all these animals in, and he ties them all together, and he keeps on binding them together until he has this great ark. Well, our ark says it has kinim, it has these nests in, right? So, what's it to say? Well, what we just heard described was the flying things, the behemoth, the crawly things. Well, that's not many things. So, if you want to be Charles Darwin about this and say, well, there's 40 kinds of viper, that's not even all the snakes, and there's 200 kinds of spiders, I don't think we have to go through every classification of spider to be in this box. We just need a general smattering of these things to go through, and God can make all of the vast variety from what goes in there. So then it suddenly becomes very, very easy to make a boat. In fact, we've got a lot of extra room. Probably plenty of room for all the food. So what it comes down to is it doesn't matter. How the Abishter did this, whether he did it by non-Newtonian physics or non-Euclidean geometry, whether he did this with, making many species out of few species, that's also completely acceptable. Actually, it doesn't matter to us what he did it. What matters to us is, we're looking at this and going, why did he send a flood? What were they doing? Mm-hmm. Is it just? Even though we know it's just, we have to ask the question of is it just in order to understand what is the relationship between God and justice? What's the relationship between death and justice? What's the difference? What's the relationship between extreme violence and cruelty and not getting a long time on this earth? And is there a causal relationship between immoral acts and the death of people who cause immoral acts? This is what we're supposed to be talking about, really. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with being interested in the physics of how the boat worked, but it doesn't change the price of eggs. The point is, we are the descendants of those who survived the flood, and we're bloody pleased about that, because I'd rather be that than the wet ones. Nobody wants to be the wet ones in this story. So let's go forward a little bit further. Okay. Let me just move this. I've got a taskbar. I don't think you can see it because here we go. It's gone out of the way. Can you read me just to start with just this top line?
Beata, kach, loch, lech.
Lecha, yeah. Beata, kach lecha. Now the root of this is lekach, which is lamed kuf chet. Very unusual to lose a lamed. A lamed is not a weak letter. It is an exception to the rule. Generally, if you have a lamed in a root, it will not go missing. In fact, the only word I know in the entire language that does this is lekach. So that annoys me, because the Torah Hebrew is so regular that when I come to an exception, it makes me deeply frustrated. Whereas I've completely given up on English because it's got more exceptions than it's got rules, right?
Well, and there's always a reason. We just don't always know the reason.
Right. I want to know the reason. That's what bothers me. I have a mystery which I've been trying to find I've been trying to get to the bottom of. In fact, it came up in this week's Parsha, and every year it comes up, and it drives me to distraction. And no matter how much more clever than me I go to ask someone, I have not found a satisfactory answer yet. I'll pose it to you in a minute, because if you find the answer, you are gold star. You beat all the students, and I'll go around telling them everyone raise the best in the entire course, right? Okay, so v'ata kach lecha, and you take for yourself. Now you know the parsha lech lecha. Lech lecha is what we say to Abraham, go to yourself, right? This is take to yourself, or take for yourself. Mikol ma'achol. Now, mikol, you're happy with that, from all, right? But ma'achol, what's the root of ma'achol? What's the root of this? 3-letter verb root.
Yeah, all of kaf lamed.
Absolutely. Achal is my favorite verb in the whole language. What does it mean?
To eat.
Yes. Right? How dare you? You're absolutely right. You can take one look at me and know that my favorite verb is to eat. And so what we're doing here with this mem is the mem is what. So we're saying ma'achal, what is eaten, and it turns it from the verb achal, to eat, into the noun food. That's what this mem is doing. So God is saying to Noach, and you take for yourself from all the food, asher ye'akel, that is eaten, va'asafta. Now that sounds like a very important character in the Torah. Who does that sound like? Asaph.
Yosef.
Absolutely, absolutely. And the reason Yosef is called Yosef, his mother said, now God has recognized me and my suffering and given me a child, and maybe he will add another one to me. And so Asaph means to add or to gather. And it's actually a foreshadowing of Joseph's great story that he gathered all of this grain and saved all these lives. But Asaph is to add or to gather, in this case probably to gather, and the ta at the end means you did. Asafti, I gathered. Asafta, you gathered, right? And then we have a vav here, which does not have a petach, but it's got a sideways binoculars. It's got a schwa, right? Meaning that it is what kind of a vav?
So it's a tent slipper?
It is a tent slipper. Beautiful. So asafta, you gathered, becomes asaf, va'asafta, you will gather.
You will gather.
Beautiful.
You will gather.
And you take for yourself from all the food that is eaten, and you will gather alecha to yourself. V'hoya. Now, hoya, hove, yeh. Hoya is was, hove is, yeh is will be. Haya was, hove is, yeh will be. This is haya was, but it's got a vav which has sideways binoculars. It's got a schwa on it, meaning it's a tent slipper. So haya was becomes yeh will be. So you shall gather all this to yourself.
So here's the obvious question.
Yes.
Why the tent slipper? Why not just like write it in the past?
Absolutely. Very good question. Very reasonable question. Not the first person to ask this question. I would say that our language does stuff which is seemingly illogical. Our language doesn't have a tense flipper. If our language did have a tense flipper, we look at this and go, oh yeah, that's the tense flipper. Most languages have probably got a tense flipper. Because our language doesn't have this, we go, why has it got it? Which is a very fair, reasonable question. Here we use it just to give us another option. It gives us another gear. I only ever use the first 4 gears of my car. Why have I got a 5th gear? Well, it's there as an option for when you're going too fast, right? So this has poetical extensions. It's actually not used in modern Hebrew. Because in modern Hebrew, which has influence from the European languages, we saw it as redundant. We don't need it anymore. But it's an option in biblical Hebrew. Why?
So it's maybe a little more poetic then.
I think so. It gives you, it gives you things like when God spoke light into existence, God said, Yehi or, there will be light. The Yehi or, there was light. And that allowed the sentence to match exactly what God said in the future tense, flips it to the past, and that's exactly what happened in the past. Okay. And it gets us to match them perfectly, like chirality. So, so v'haya, and it will be lecha for you, v'lahem, and for them, la'achla, another way of saying for food. So gather the food for yourselves, all that is eaten, gather it, you will gather it to yourself, and it will be for you and for them for food. Very practical. Pack yourself lunch, it's going to be a long boat trip, right? In fact, it's going to be 150 days up, and then 150 days down. So it's at least a year that they're, bobbing around on the, because it doesn't get to completely dry when the 150 days of descent, it doesn't completely dry out. It takes another month after that.
I bet you he was sick of eating fish, man.
Yeah. He's got to be looking at that unicorn like, we didn't bring 7, but do we really need unicorns in the new world? I mean, it comes on a kebab, We can just rotate around on that big toothpick. Yeah. That's why the dinosaurs didn't make it, man. They were just too tasty. Have you ever tasted a velociraptor? They're all gone. never get a chance, right? Who would have expected them to have cloven hooves and chew the cud? You know, you wouldn't. Back in the old days, it was different. So, I really like this phrase. This whole sentence is one phrase, and it's so simple, and I think it's very easy to overlook it, but it just, it says something beautiful. Can you read me the whole verse, and then we'll break it down afterwards and translate it?
So, Vayas Noach ke choil asher di diu
Siva.
boy.
It's very reasonable because the u there looks like u, but actually what it is it happens to have this vowel underneath the vav, and that's what takes priority. That wasn't something you could have known until you encountered it, so that one takes priority.
Yeah. Oi soy
Yeah,
Elohim
yeah,
kain
yeah.
uso.
Yes. So you notice the asa at the end is the same as the yas at the beginning. It's ayin sin. This one's lost its hey, but there it is in its primal form. You know, in its absolute root sense. The hey on the end of here isn't actually a feminine hey. It's actually part of the roots. So this is also in its primal form, right? So yas or asa is the general dog's body to make or do. On the beginning of the kal means all, but kakal, the kaf as a prefix, means like or similar to, right? Asher, you know, means that or which means we're going to get more information about the thing, right? Oto, that's the passive pronoun. Elohim is Elohim. Kain means yes or thus. Asa, to do, right? So what this translates as, V'ya'as Noach, and Noach did, kakal asher tziva oto, like all that he commanded him, Elohim, God, Kain asa, thus he did. And it's so easy to miss it. But that, if we could all get that right, we'd all be Noach. Because he did, Noach did, like all that God told him to do, thus he did. That's the crux to getting to the Noach level. Now, Noach level, doing what you're told, is not the top level. I'm going to let you into a little bit of a secret. This is the difference between Judaism and Islam. Islam, in its best sense, they are our beloved cousins. Sometimes they need to calm down a little bit, you know. Sometimes they get a little bit carried away, you know. Only really in the sort of extreme Islamists and the extreme people. The general guys are fine. They're right on track. They are in fact classed as Noachites.
I know a lot of them.
Yeah, wonderful people.
I know a lot of them.
Yeah, I used to have great debates with the Muslim chaplain in Plymouth University, Faisal Subhan, wonderful guy. I have great fun with Faisal. But my point is, this is the fundamental difference. Islam means to submit to God, and a Muslim is one who submits. Yisrael means to struggle with God. And weirdly, a Jew comes from Yehuda, which comes from Hodeh, which means to be grateful. So we are both grateful and we squabble with God. So what's the difference between Noach and Avraham Avinu? Why was it that Avraham was chosen to be the father of the nation and Noach was chosen to be very, very blessed and sacred and holy, but not the father of the nation? Because Noach did exactly what he was told. Whereas Abraham went respectfully, can I push back a little bit? So faced with the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Abraham says, oh, Hashem, the Kadosh Baruch Hu, so beautiful, we love you, but isn't there anyone that we can spare from Sodom and Gomorrah? Isn't there but 50? And Hashem says, I checked and there isn't. What if 40? Could you spare them for the sake of 10 people? I'm sorry, there's not 40 people. And he goes down and he goes down and goes down. And Hashem is so moved by Abraham's desperation to save human lives, which God finds so beautiful, that when he gets down to 10, God just leaves before the conversation is over. He just gone. Because he knows if Abraham pushes him any further, he's going to give in, because he loves Abraham and he loves the fact that he's trying to save human lives. But Noach is faced with the destruction of the entire planet. And he does not argue. God says, I'm going to wipe out the whole planet. And Noach says, okay, what do you need me to do? And this is the complexity of a relationship between the Jew and God, is God says, you know, you're right and wrong. You're right because you should do what you're told. And I told you to do it and you're doing it and that's fine. You're special, you're good, you're obedient. But I wish you'd pushed back a little bit. I wish you'd had the heart that Abraham has to try and save a life. If you'd done that, you would have been my guy. So he carries on looking. So this sentence is so heavy. Vayas Noach, and Noach did kachal asher tzivah oto, like all that he commanded him. Elohim, Kain asa, thus he did. He did like that and no more. He took 100 years to build this boat, 100 years. And he took his sons, the wives of his sons, himself and his wife, and no one else. Not one person. So that's the glory and the tragedy of Noach, encapsulated in one sentence right there. Funny, isn't it? Okay, let's go forward. Can you read, please, just the first 2 lines for a sec?
So, but Vayomer Adonai le Noach.
Yes.
And then Boy Ata
Yes.
Bechol by Secha.
Yes. Beautiful. What does it mean, those first 2 lines?
So he said,
Yeah.
Hashem said
Yes.
to Noach,
Yes.
would that be come
Yes.
to me?
No, atar. What does atar mean? Who is atar?
Oh, you.
Yes, beautiful. So God says to Noah, come, you, v'kal
Come, you.
beitecha.
I would say, so
Atar,
Lamed is 2 or 4, right?
there's no lamed here.
So,
Atar, v'kal beitecha.
or not the Lamed, the Vav. The Vav is 2 or 4,
The
right?
vav is and.
And
Kol,
all.
yes. What's a bayit? Or base?
The house, right?
Yes.
Your
You-
house.
Yes, beautiful. So God says to Noah, come, you and all your house. Next 2 words.
I'll or L
L.
a taiva,
Yes.
which is the box, right?
Yes, absolutely.
P.
Now, there's wait. Pause there for a moment, because there's something beautiful. There's something beautiful. You don't want to miss it. What did God say that was surprising when God summoned Moses to go to Pharaoh? The name of the parsha is
We
Bo.
told him to come. Oh, yeah,
Yes.
he said to come to Pharaoh, right?
Yes. Why did he
And
say
so
to
in this one, I think he tells him to come into the box,
Yes.
and then he tells him to come out of the box, right?
Yes. God is going before him. In his leavings and in his coming back,
Okay.
God is going ahead of him to prepare the way. Isn't it beautiful? When you don't be scared about Pharaoh. I'm not saying go to Pharaoh. You're not leaving me. I'm saying come to Pharaoh. I'm stood there in the room already. I'm not going to miss it. I'm there. You know, I'm your gymnastics coach. I'm not going to let you fall. Right? This is here again. Come, you and all of your house, to the ark. Come to the ark. I'm there. I'm there. You're doing a scary thing. Don't worry. I'm the dad of the entire universe. I'm not going to let you fall. I'm your gymnastics coach. Ki otcha. Oh. Now this is not itcha. This is not with you. This is otcha, the passive pronoun. Passive pronoun. So the passive pronoun for me is oti. So if you, Ray, does something to me, I say you did something oti. What's otcha?
To me.
Yes. But
Yeah, to
think
you.
about it. The you, that's it. Oti is to me, otcha is to you. So come to the thing, you and all your house, because otcha, you, ra'iti. Now, Ro'eh, Resh, Aleph, Hey is a sense verb. Ro'eh is to
Okay.
see.
See. Okay.
What does Ra'iti mean with T on the end?
Just
Whenever you put taf yod on the end of any verb, it means I did it in the past.
yes, I saw you.
I saw you, right. Come to the ark, you and all your house, because I saw that you, tzaddik,
Zadok.
a tzaddik, lifnai, a righteous person, lifnai. What's lifnai?
On the face, right?
To the face, yeah,
Okay.
to the face, which means before
To the
me. The yard is me. Beautiful, exactly right. So I've seen that you're a righteous man before me. Bador hazeh. Bador hazeh. What does it mean? What's a door? Door v'dor v'dor. Door door.
Is that generation?
Yes, it's generation. So good.
Generation.
Well done. Hador,
Yeah.
bador hazeh. Bador hazeh. What's hazeh?
Hazeh. In Hazeh, in the world, right?
It's a good guess. This one means this. Bador hazeh
Yes.
means in this generation. You're great. Because we had the discussion before that he was righteous in his generation. Does that mean he would have been righteous in another generation? Or does that mean he'd be so righteous even in this evil generation that he'd be double righteous in another generation? We don't know.
Well, yeah. But I think you're looking at it linear, right? I think he was exotic because I think you're looking at it linear where everything's happening all at once, right? So he was exotic.
Absolutely.
But it isn't linear. He was filled to the brim with what he could hold, right?
Oh,
His
I like
vessel
that.
was
I
full
like
because
that.
he was exotic.
Yeah.
Not some people can hold just as much as him, but their vessel isn't full. I think when someone's exotic, they're to the top, right?
Beautiful. I like that very much. Absolutely.
I heard a guy one time say he saw somebody at the Koisel, right?
Yeah.
And he's at the Koisel and he was dropping and he was standing there in some shorts and a cut off t-shirt.
Oh.
And this guy says, that man there is exotic. He's full to the fill.
Yeah.
But you, and this guy standing here with kids in the whole 9 yards, he says, you were born into this and you're not even filling yourself, right?
Wow.
You're not even this guy's exotic. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very
so that vessel was full. So I think he was. I think he was full to the top. Right?
Absolutely. There are two guys who come and sit at the back of my synagogue, and one of the guys has learning difficulties, and the other guy's an alcoholic. And I'm so pleased whenever I see them, because the guy with learning difficulties, he sits there for a while. We give him a bit of tzedakah, and he goes again. And one time he told me he picked up a book off the shelf and he said, "My dad wrote this." And it was a real special tome. It turns out his dad is some, wow, amazing tzaddik. But he comes and he does what he can do. He comes and he sits. He can't pray. He doesn't have the capacity. He can't read the book that his dad wrote. But he does the bit he can do. He comes every morning and he sits at the back. And when he can't do any more, he goes. And there's the other guy. Yeah,
disabled.
He's disabled. But then the other guy is an alcoholic. And I see him sometimes. He doesn't make it in all the time because he can't make it in all the time. But I see him, and whenever I see him, my face lights up and his face lights up. I went, we shake hands. I was always so pleased with him because he's mustering past all of the barriers he has in his life, all the difficulties he has in his life, and he makes it into Shachrit. At very early in the morning, dawn, he's in there. And he sits there for a bit, and then he's too much, and he goes outside and he has a cigarette, and then he comes back in again. He never picks up a siddur, but one day he might. And when I see him out in the street on the corner, I'm all normally in black and white, and I see him like, hey, it's like, hey, like this thing it's people are on their own journeys and they do what they can. You're absolutely right.
I learned this from Hasidus. Do you know why people are born handicapped?
I don't tend to guess.
Mom is beautiful.
Yeah.
Because Hasidus says that they're only doing time, that they perfected themselves in the other life.
Wow.
And so they come here in a way that they can only do time because that's all they owe. And the Abishter would never drop them into a place where they could sin. He drops them into a place where they can only do time.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Even in a place, this guy was such a tzaddik that even in a place where he couldn't, where he didn't, he wasn't required to come to chakras, he does it anyways because he's that holy.
Absolutely. This guy, he shows you a kind word, and it's like it lights up your whole day, you know.
Yeah, and then Abraham Torsky, have you heard of him?
No, I've heard the name, but I haven't read anything by him.
Yeah, so his dad was a big Rebbe. They were, I can't remember the name of the Hasidic group, but they come from Chernobyl Hasidim, right? And he was the first Haredi guy in America to become a psychologist. Like he broke the way. Like this was not stuff that you did, and he became a psychologist. So he took psychology and Hasidus and Kabbalah and put them together.
Wow.
He's a very deep person.
Wonderful.
And he said that alcoholics are very spiritual people, that it hurts them to look at the world.
Oh, yeah.
So they have to drink.
Yeah.
Have to look at the world.
Because they're so sensitive.
Yeah.
100%. When you hear something like that, you think that fits my experience, you know, of that struggle that the person has. I'm sorry, I have to run away.
Those may be the two holiest people in the whole shul.
Totally. You
saw them. And you saw them.
Yeah. Oh, mate. You should be so greatly blessed in this week. You're bringing so much wisdom and joy everywhere you go. You should receive more and more and more, and more opportunities to share what you're sharing. I'm going to have to run, but I wish I didn't. Have a wonderful week. Be very, very blessed. 7 good jokes in your ear and 7 good jokes out of your mouth, and all of your jokes should find on sensitive ears, and you should have very good biscuits and closeness to the Kadosh Baruch Hu, lots of wisdom, and let you know. Now you'll be blessed this week to know the goodness that your kind words are doing to the other people around you.
Amen.
See you soon. See you next week. Bye.